Welcome, welcome. You know, the nature of what is called the ego has an incredibly challenging role to play. It's like a magician that has no time off, except perhaps in deep dreamless states or momentary visions of great opening. But the ego is this almost constant theme of making nothing feel so intensely real as not only something, but the most important something. And that which is the most important something is what language calls me. And this me is completely and totally connected in every way with everything that happens in the play. You cannot separate out the illusion of a me from the relationships with the play. It's one huge mirage created out of the survival instincts that you came into this dreamscape to clear. And the way this false nature is kept feeling so alive is due to the contraction of conscious awareness. Energy contracts and expands. It's the primary movement of energy in which all other movements arise from. The expansion of energy is due to moments when the ego character is not gripped onto so tightly, and then usually it will just dissolve. And the taste is that of no center, no problem, no past, no individual. But then the conditioning construct comes in with this contractive force. And what motivates the contraction is this conditioned protection. And what the play offers are all of these various needs from the conditioned ego's perspective, needs to protect. So the play is constantly offering stimulus in the perceptive experience that requires a sense of need from the egoic, conditioned, computerized perspective to protect itself. And this protection is almost constant because underneath it there is a recognition it is just a magician. There's nothing really there. There's nothing of substance. And so long as the hand, which is manipulating whatever it is moving fast enough, the deception goes unnoticed. So what the ego takes itself to be at some point in the journey is realized to be an incredibly sophisticated myth. It is simply a stimulus response program. The stimulus is what the ego sees as the outside world or the reactions of what is called my mind. The response is the response, the secondary mental response to my mind's interpretation or to the interpretation of what is happening out there. And the things that stimulate the response are the things that bring up either obvious or subtle senses of vulnerability. And since at the root, this ego is non-existent, it is vulnerable to virtually everything, whether it is recognized or not. So there is typically almost a constant sense of protection, which manifests as the experience of location, of being somewhere, of this body, being in location, being in time. If there is any relationship with this, you know that there is some sense of protective response mechanism at play. And the egoic position is if I let down the guard and no longer protect myself, then fear will come up. If fear comes up, if there is the real honest looking at, letting the guard down in every single thing, being completely and totally transparent, letting everything take care of itself without any conditioned attention falling into the contractive point of a me that then seems so real and is constantly repeating the dynamics that created the experience of all of it. When the hunger to know yourself is a greater force than the conditioning's condition to protect itself, this is the beginning of the end of the mirage. But it can be so subtle. Every futuristic thought is about a protection of me. Every futuristic thought is about a protection of me. If there is no protection of me, that motivation eventually just starts to dissipate, stop, because of a recognition that it is all a stimulus response mechanism, and at its roots, nothing more than a mechanism itself. So the ego, if you are so fortunate, goes on this journey to discover what is real. But unless one is extremely mature in this, it is under the laws of what makes this ego feel comfortable. I will do this if it feels right to me. I will proceed if it does not interrupt my life. There can be trust so long as there is absolutely no sense of threat, but there can only be no sense of threat if there is no sense of me. Otherwise, there is either an obvious or an unconscious sense of threat, or there would be no contraction into this focal point that is defined by me. This contraction is a shell of protection that is rooted in reflecting any possible stimulus that could bring in vulnerability. And when you begin to see that there really is no theme character, every form of stimulation is a form of potential vulnerability until it has been received to a point that there is the seeing that what is being perceived and the perception itself is all inside one infinite field of wisdom, which is the wisdom of the heart. So then this ego mind attempts to acquire the heart and put it in its pocket where it's safe. But what is the heart? You cannot define it. It's not a thing. Feeling is peace and beauty and infinite expanse. The taste is pure love and light. But it is threatening, completely threatening to the conditioned egoic phenomena because the ego is the distraction. It cannot experience your deepest nature. The mind says experience is reality. But what is discovered is that everything that is experienced is actually protective coding of this ego for this person that when you search, you can never find. And even the one who is searching is an attempt. It's an attempt. And all attempting comes from the mind. And the mind comes from the mirage. And it is a form of protecting, hiding, so that no one will see that I am a charlatan. What does it mean that I am a charlatan? I am not there. There's nobody there. In the spiritual arena, there being nobody there is the goal. But it becomes confusing when there is relationship with the mind. Because in subtler and subtler ways, this mind is wanting recognition, wanting to be seen, wanting to be loved, wanting to feel love, wanting to spread love. Wanting to feel and spread love is beautiful. But if it is even subtly beautiful to what the egoic mind calls you, there is a protective aspect. And in this process, everything is uprooted. Everything is uprooted. And the intensity of truly feeling all the way, the vulnerability, the root of the creation of this play of separation is staggering. Most have never ever tasted it. The whole distraction, deception mechanism is an avoidance not to feel the depth of this fragility in the recognition that you are nothing. You can say that when you realize you are nothing, simultaneously you realize you are everything. And this is true. But first, you simply have to feel that you are nothing, because the mind, that is one of the things, big things, that brings up fear to the mind. You are not male or female. You are not a certain age. You have not accomplished certain things. You are nothing. Everything is this stimulus response program, which puts forth this constant stream of distraction, of attention, that distracts you from what? Yourself. Yourself. From this moment, you know, this moment when the imprint of a past moment vanishes. So long as there is a sense that I am feeling this moment and there is an I that is feeling this moment, the imprint is still alive. So it requires staying power until the imprint slowly begins to dissolve. And there is no longer a sense of someone acknowledging something. There is this, which cannot be experienced. It cannot ever be experienced, not even slightly. There is no experience in yourself, for there is no other. Experience happens in the play of separation. You are yourself. And the mind goes on this journey to make yourself feel better, but there is no yourself. So all the protection comes in. And when the play is playing itself to bring up the pieces that created this deceptive strategy in the beginning, mind goes into great fear. And when there is conviction because the taste has been deep enough, there is a willingness to sit with this. But this is not the end of the journey. It's actually the beginning of the deeper part of the journey. Because once you begin to see who you are, you recognize you are in everything. You are in everything. In the recognition, the welcoming, the complete welcoming that you are nothing, the reality that you are nothing, simultaneously there is the realization that you are everything. Everything. And that means every hurt, every misunderstanding, every single form of suffering that is happening anywhere in the cosmos becomes yours. And the joy, and the light, and the beauty, and the ecstasy, it's all yours. But it is a razor's edge on this journey. It is a razor's edge. It is not for the half-hearted. It is the simplest thing possible, and yet it is the greatest challenge imaginable. And through the eyes that see, that really see there is no one there, the enormity of the challenge is recognized to just be happening in a dream. But from the perspective of being identified with this stimulus response mechanism, the more open you become, the more intense you feel everything, including the contractions, including the struggle. You feel the absolute insanity of the collective mind because you feel the collective in everything because you are the collective. You are not a separate dot that is working on its own. There is the seeing, there is no doer. So it is impossible to form protection around an individual because everything is a representation of your own being. And in order to be freed, there must be the true seeing of what has pulled the shades over the eyes, closed the eyes, cut you off from yourself. Once this taste happens, once there is a recognition of your nature, of your heart, of the beauty of all of this, of the wisdom that goes into every single detail, no matter how it may seem, this does not mean that the challenges end. They absolutely do not. What actually occurs is the challenges intensify manyfold because the numbing that this ego shell puts out starts crumbling apart. If someone in some third world country has their brains blown out for something they have said, it is felt, but it is not felt like it is felt in an ego body, which is numbing everything. All is felt to the roots of it. What seems unbearable is received. This is metaphorically offered in the crucifixion. On the one hand, every player is called forth to receive all of this. On the other hand, there is a deeper and deeper seeing that no matter how it seems, it cannot touch anything. And the joy stops being swept away by the body's fears and confusions. You begin feeling yourself as the joy and the love all the time, while the body's reactions come and go. When the body presents itself, you realize there is not only the body which is perceiving, but there is something aware of the body itself. There would be no awareness if there was not something aware of the body. There's something aware of the body right now. There's something aware of these words. There's something aware of sensation. And this awareness has no limit. It's not a thing. So everybody, every phenomenal appearance appears within this awareness. And you realize you are everything, because when you are seeing it from the awareness that you are, the solid, separate objects reveal themselves to be myth. And you realize all of it is aspects of the conditioned psyche, which started out being the conditioned psyche of the mind that was called mind. And as you begin opening, it transforms into the conditioned psyche of collective consciousness. You don't have to look very far to see what a crazy state collective consciousness is in. But the willingness to receive this is the byproduct of your nature. And your nature cannot be touched. And your nature is eternal. And it is pure beauty. And it shines unto itself, by itself, in itself, through itself, right now. And then there is the schooling, which purifies soul, which is the school of separation, the play of life, where it looks like all of these different possibilities arise, even though when there is true seeing, there is a recognition it is all ordained. It is all arising within you. You have just lost sight of yourself because of this constant distractive mechanism. But everything is occurring within you as an aspect of you, whether it is replaying an original karmic event or whether in your service it is just offering something that is causing suffering in the world due to misunderstanding. just to feel the heart. To feel the beauty of the heart. It is not my heart or your heart. Heart is love. There is no owner to love. Heart is the self. There is no owner to the self. Heart is silence. There is no owner to silence. When you are feeling silence, you are feeling yourself, which is no thing. And then the mind body is let go of. The cage door is opened, and the experience of choosing and doing evaporates. And with this evaporation, so too does time and location, future and past. It just evaporates with it. Allowing what can evaporate to evaporate. Having the courage to face mental reactivity. Not in this moment in satsang where nothing is coming up, but as a conviction in the life, not the conviction for there to be an outcome, the conviction in this moment alone, only about the intention. The intention is yours. The intention of purity, the intention of love, the intention of being an offering to what is kind and good and alive, where we all meet in the beauty of our nature. No matter how it seems, and it can seem so real, nothing is happening to you. Nothing is happening to you. Just feel yourself, not the story of yourself, not the perception of yourself, but just to feel yourself. It is the same feeling that occurred in infancy. It has not changed. It is not evolving. It is the feeling, the simplicity of your existence, which is unbroken, and the healing of everything that has been hypnotized. No matter what your mind's idea of this is or not, you have come into this life to be a vessel for the transformation of ignorance and the flowering of the beauty of reality. Otherwise, you would not find yourself here, because everything you are witnessing here is an aspect of yourself. And the witness no longer needs to witness anything. It just feels itself. which is beingness, which is eternal, not by working really hard, but by surrendering to everything in this play under the recognition that there is a wisdom this mind will never understand. There is a taste that the mind-body organism can never experience. There is a beauty that can never be spoken, but it can be felt. And that feeling is satsang. Okay, let us sit for a few minutes before we move into questions and answers. Forget about your idea of yourself. Not to try to prevent the mind from coming up with ideas about yourself. This is under no one's control. It is just to realize it just happens automatically over and over again as the simplicity of a stimulus response program. And you are the space that holds everything, every single thing, without exception. And in this, everything is tasted as one thing. And this is what is called awakening. Just to feel the space. What you cannot define, yet it is so alive. Thank you all for satsang.